Following the profound declaration of Christ as the living stone in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, the next verse, verse 5, expands on this imagery to include the believers themselves, stating, "You also, as living stones, are being built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ." This passage intricately weaves together several key concepts about the identity and purpose of believers in relation to Christ and the community of faith. The text emphasizes that believers, like Christ, are living stones. This metaphor extends the concept of life and vitality from Christ to his followers, indicating that just as Christ is alive and foundational, so too are his followers, enlivened and integral to the spiritual edifice being constructed. This building is not made of dead, inanimate material, but is dynamically growing and active, comprised of individuals who have been made alive through their union with Christ. Being built up as a spiritual house suggests a collective purpose among believers. It's not just an individual coming to Christ, but a corporate action where each believer is a crucial component of a larger structure. This spiritual house is akin to the temple in the Old Testament, which was the dwelling place of God's presence. In the New Covenant, this concept is transformed so that the community of believers collectively becomes the dwelling place of God through the Spirit. Each believer, then, has a specific place and function within this spiritual edifice, contributing to its strength, beauty, and purpose. The idea of being a holy priesthood within this spiritual house further develops the believer's role. In the Old Testament, priests had the unique role of mediating between God and the people, offering sacrifices and conducting rituals necessary for worship and atonement. In the New Covenant, this priesthood is no longer limited to a specific lineage or group. All believers now share in this priestly role. This holy priesthood is tasked with offering spiritual sacrifices. Unlike the physical sacrifices of old, these are the sacrifices of praise, thanksgiving, good works, and sharing the message of Christ's redemption, sacrifices made possible through the life and work of Jesus Christ and pleasing to God because they are offered through him. The phrase, "acceptable to God through Jesus Christ," underscores that it is only through the mediating work of Christ that these offerings are pleasing to God. Christ not only enables these sacrifices through his atoning work, but also sanctifies them. His righteousness covers our offerings, making them pure and worthy before God. This beautifully illustrates the grace that permeates the believer's service and worship. Nothing is done solely in human strength or merit, but everything is suffused with the grace and mercy provided through Jesus. This comprehensive portrayal of believers as living stones in a spiritual house and a holy priesthood emphasizes the transformation that faith in Christ enacts in a person's life. It speaks to a community bound together by a shared life and purpose, where each person is not only individually transformed, but is also integrally connected to a larger, living reality that transcends their individual existence. Moreover, the concept of spiritual sacrifices connects everyday life to divine worship. The activities, relationships, and services of believers are not secular or profane, but are sacred acts of worship when performed in faith and through Jesus Christ. This elevates the mundane aspects of daily life to acts of spiritual significance, blurring the lines between what is considered sacred and secular. Every act of love, every pursuit of justice, every moment of kindness, when offered through Jesus, becomes a part of the divine service, contributing to the building up of the spiritual house. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5 challenges believers to see themselves in a new light, as active participants in a divine building project endowed with a priestly role that sanctifies their every act when performed in faith. This vision grants profound dignity and purpose to the life of every believer, calling them to a higher standard of living and interaction with the world around them. This passage not only reassures believers of their value and purpose in God's eyes, but also compels them to live in a manner worthy of the calling they have received, as living stones in a spiritual house, continuously offering spiritual sacrifices that are acceptable to God through Jesus Christ.